Assalamualaikum and good morning class. Today we will learn an important regulation under OSHA 1994 Amendment 2022, which is the Occupational Safety and Health, Notification of Accident, Dangerous Occurrence, Occupational Poisoning and Occupational Disease Regulation 2004, also known as NADOPOD. So by the end of this session, you will understand what must be reported, who must report, which form to use and the penalty for not reporting. First, let's look at the background of the regulation. NADOPOD was initiated in 1996 based on international systems such as RIDOR, or Reporting of Injuries, Disease and Dangerous Occurrence, and Regulation 1995 UK, and OIRR US. It was gazetted on 22nd April 2004 and fully enforced on 1st March 2005. This is the 7th regulation made under OSHA 1994. And the regulation ensure employers report all important workplace incidents to DOSH. Let's go through to the objective of NADOPOD. First is to comply with the Act. So the Act is OSHA 1994. Second is to standardize reporting across Malaysia. So why must we report? So first, to determine the underlying cause of the incidents in order for remedial action to be taken to prevent similar occurrence in the future. Third objective is to establish a valid and reliable statistic of accident happen in Malaysia. So the first objective is to comply with the Act, OSHA 1994. So if we look at section 32 in OSHA 1994, it states that an employer shall notify the nearest occupational safety and health office of any accident, dangerous occurrence, occupational poisoning or occupational disease which has occurred or is likely to occur at that place of work. So the NADOPOD is based on this section. So before we go further, you must know the key definitions or terms. First one is accident. So accident is an occurrence at work that result in fatal or non-fatal injury. For dangerous occurrence, it means an unwanted event listed in second schedule even if no injuries occur. And for occupational poisoning or disease is any acute or chronic poisoning or disease caused by inhalation, ingestion, absorption or direct contact with hazardous agents listed in third schedule. So this term determine which form we must use. This is second schedule for dangerous occurrence. So example for dangerous occurrence is collapse of scaffolding, collapse of a building or structure, electrical short circuit, escape of a substance, explosion, fire or failure of structure. So there are more dangerous occurrence, so you can refer in second schedule in NADOPOD regulation. While for third schedule is describe occupational poisoning and occupational disease. For example, for poisoning, poisoning by acrylamide monomer, alcohol, glycol-keton, antimony and arsenic. So this is a description of occupational poisoning or disease and nature of activity or occupation. This is the arrangement of regulation. So the regulation is divided into 5 parts. Part 1 preliminary, part 2 NADOPOD, part 3 no interference at accident or dangerous occurrence scene, part 4 maintenance of all record, and part 4 miscellaneous. The important or main part in this regulation, the first one is application. NADOPOD apply to all place of work Okay, by complying with NADOPOD, employers automatically comply with Section 32 of OSHA 1994, okay, Regulation 13 of Petroleum, okay, and Regulation 23 of CIMAH Regulation 1996. So the FMA is revoked, so we ignore for this section. Now let's see what must be reported. Okay, so first one is case to be reported immediately by phone or fax. Okay, the first one is occupational accident that happened that caused death, okay, serious body injury and any dangerous occurrence. Okay, so this one have to report immediately. Okay, after that employer must submit JKKPC within 7 days. Okay, the second one, if the non-serious injury, if a worker cannot perform normal work for more than 4 days, employer must submit JKKP6 also. And for minor injuries, do need to be reported. Okay, minor accident injuries are not necessary to be reported. Okay, for example, if the worker have fractured, okay, his arm and is hospitalized, so the employer must submit JKKP6 form immediately. Okay, this is JKKP6 form. It's contain 3 parts. Okay, part A is employer or reporter detail. Part B is person involved, and part C description of the accident or dangerous occurrence. Next is notification of occupational poisoning and occupational disease. So who must make report if this happen? Okay, there are 2 parties involved. First one is employer. So any case of occupational or poisoning and occupational disease shall be reported to the local DOS office by the employer within 7 days. Okay, using JKKP 7. And part 1 is medical practitioner. Okay, medical practitioner attending to or call to visit a patient must report within 7 days to Director General and inform the employer of the patient. Example of occupational poisoning and occupational disease is lead poisoning, noise-induced hearing loss, dermatitis from chemicals, and asbestosis. This is example of JKKP 7 form. It's contain part A1. So this is for employer detail. Part A2 is for medical practitioner. Okay, part B is worker detail. Part C is diagnosis of the exposure, and part D is job task. The next important part in NADOPOD is record keeping. All employers must keep record of all cases, okay, using JKKP 8 form for all accident, okay, dangerous occurrence, occupational poisoning and occupational disease. Okay. The record for a period of 12 months shall be submitted to Director General by 31st January of the following years. And the record shall also be kept at the place of work for at least 5 years. Okay, so kena simpan selama 5 tahun record dangerous occurrence accident dengan occupational poisoning and occupational disease. Okay, in order to decide whether a case should be notified and recorded, they consist of 5 steps. The first one is determine whether a case occur or not. Okay, that is whether there was death, dangerous occurrence, poisoning, disease or injury. Then was it work related? Okay, berkait dengan kerja ke tak? Okay, decide whether the case is an incident or dangerous occurrence or an occupational poisoning or occupational disease. If the case is occupational poisoning and occupational disease, okay, you must notify using form JKKP 7. Okay, If the case is death, serious bodily injury or dangerous occurrence, notify DOSH immediately. Then submit JKKPC within 7 days. And together with other case record in the form JKKP 8. This is the chart what an employer must do in the case of accident, dangerous occurrence, occupational poisoning or occupational disease. And if an employer fail to report, so they should be fined up to 10,000 and imprisonment up to 1 year or both. So today we cover the definition of accident, dangerous occurrence and occupational disease, form JKKPC 7 and 8, reporting, timelines, employer and doctor's responsibility, and the penalty for non-compliance. That's all for chapter 2 NADOPOD.